I am absolutely interested in conquest. I'm interested in peacocking my feathers and being the best. I'm interested in showing off. I'm interested in alpha male high. Look at me. I have everything. I can do everything. Look at me. This is who I am. And they say that this is all bad and toxic masculinity, but that's, again, just a massive psyop. The entire world was built off the back of toxic masculinity. All the high buildings in Mumbai are built by men who want to prove themselves and say, look what I can do. I can literally go and build a building that's 100 stories high. You need an ego, and I'm ego-driven and ego-fueled, and I don't let it control me, but satisfying my ego makes me happy. And well, the ego sabotages you when you allow it to delude you. And this is what a lot of people do, because they'll have an ego without the real world accomplishments, and then they become deluded, and then they become non-competitive. To remain effective, you need to be very firmly in the real world. I have a massive ego, but I'm also a realist. I know what I'm good at. I know what I'm bad at. I don't apologize ever for saying what I'm good at, and I will sit here and admit the things I cannot do. But as long as you have feedback that you're going to take on board and you have a good team around you and you're also self-analyzing all the time, then you can remain a realist and an egotist, and then I think you'll do very well. The masculine ego has built the entire world. It's the reason nearly every single man ever went to war and conquered anything. The masculine ego, in fact, it's very interesting. I was talking to a girl the other day, and I was saying that men crave adventure more than women. She was saying, oh no, I like adventure. I don't just want to sit at home. I like to go out and explore things and go to restaurants, etc. I said, no. What you like to do is run around, going to restaurants and going shopping. You call that an adventure. Masculine adventure is the men who decided to go to Antarctica and freeze to death. There's no shopping, there's no sushi. Yeah. They just felt like they had to do it to satisfy their ego and to place their names in the history books.
True.
So there's something inside of every man that feels that, and they try and breed it out of men because they're afraid of that masculine spirit, because that masculine spirit is hard to conquer and they want to conquer us all. But I have no problems admitting that I am motivated by the dark of the yin and the yang, and I have no problems admitting that my ego motivates me and that I'm motivated by pride and I like to feel proud. And I do things that allow me to feel proud. And as long as I stay realistic and I don't become egocentric, then I feel like it makes me as competitive as possible. Well, this is the thing. It's in general. It doesn't matter if you go to the gym and you try and lift more weights. It doesn't matter if you try and make more money that you can't possibly spend.
Right.
It doesn't matter if you need more beautiful children.
Yeah.
You always need something to do, right? And you always need somewhere to push. They say when you retire, you die. I would argue that's probably true. Or I think there's a lot of men out there who perhaps are battling with themselves because the matrix and system has told them, no, you're not supposed to think that way. You're not supposed to be that way. You're egotistical. You're driven by pride. You should get rid of all that. And you should, I don't know what, become soppy goo instead, just some porridge mess that the matrix can program. But no, you're supposed to wake up and look in the mirror and say, this is my name. This is who I am. I'm going to be the best version of myself. And everybody's going to respect me. And I'm going to force them to, because that's the way the world works. Respect can be squeezed out of people. They don't have to like you. You can't squeeze someone liking you. You can't grab space-time from the universe and force everybody to like you, but you can force everybody to respect you, whether they want to or not. All of my haters respect me. They sit there, this guy's so bad, but they can't say I'm unsuccessful. They can't say I'm not intelligent. They can't say I'm not rich. I'm still worthy of all their time and attention. They've dedicated their lives to me, so I've forced them to respect me. If I was a nobody, then they wouldn't be reporting on this garbage case of mine. So you can force respect from people, and this is actually most observable with women. There's a whole lot of women who are dating men they don't even like.
Yeah.
And they're sleeping with men they don't even like, but they respect him. And the respect, and they can say, I don't even like him that much. In fact, I hate him, but I just do as he says. Why is that? Because they respect you. So I'm driven by that. And I guess, I've talked to psychiatrists, and there's some psychiatrists who would argue that it's insecurity to feel like you need to prove yourself to the world all the time. And I think that's part of the psyop. They convince you you're insecure if you want to prove you're capable. If you want to prove that you're different and intelligent and interesting, you're insecure. You should have no interest in what people think about you. That makes you insecure. And that is the largest psyop in history. To wake up and say, I'm not going to be successful. I'm not going to be strong. I'm not going to be interesting. I'm not going to go out there and test myself. And I'm not going to put honor on my last name, because I would hate for people to think I'm insecure. I'm secure. So it doesn't matter if you think I'm a loser. And it doesn't matter if I am a loser, because I'm just going to sit at home and I'm secure. No, it's not insecurity. It's called duty to your last name and honor. And that's just another one of the many different tentacles inside of the psyop octopus, trying to snatch any motivation left from the masculine spirit. If I was a man who was unsuccessful, and I hadn't met my physical capability or my financial capability or my mental capability or my spiritual capability, I would be insecure. I would sit and say, this is a failed version of who Andrew Tate could be, and I'm not happy with who it is. And I think that every man should be like that, so he gets up off his ass and does something. I think so, yes, but also competence is confidence. I think they go hand in hand. You're going to be confident in doing things you're good at. And I understood I had to get good at things from a very young age. And I was challenged from a very young age to constantly test myself in endless competition. My whole life has been competition.
Correct.
It was chess tournaments from a very young age.
Yeah.
And then it was professional fighting. My whole life's been a massive competition.
Right.
And I understood that there's winners and losers. And that's how the world operates. To this day, right now, it's the same thing. And you just get good at the idea of competition. I think there's a lot of people out here who don't realize they're in a fight. Or they know they're in a fight, but they want to ignore the fact they're in a fight because they don't want to have to accept that they're losing. But what's very interesting is all those bad things you just talked about, the bad experiences, you wouldn't have been able to self-educate without the bad experiences. You need the bad things also, just as we talked about earlier about haters, and you need the light and the dark and the yin and the yang, thousands of years old. You need the two. This is what's very interesting. The point you made is very, very, very pertinent. There's a lot of people who complain about the bad things that happen in their life, not understanding that without the bad things, you'd have no life at all. You need all of the bad things. You need the mental struggle. You need to go through things which you regret. You need to sit there so that if you've never regretted any action you've ever taken, how can you sit and make a intelligent decision for the future? You can't do it. You need to sit and say, well, I felt the sting of regret for X. I don't want to feel the sting of regret for Y. You need this experience. And that's what life is all about. People think that life is just the good times. And this is the massive misconception. Love is a perfect example. Let's use love. Because people think being in love is holding hands and I hold hands and we cuddle in bed. I love them. Love is the whole spectrum. Love is missing them. Love is breaking up with them. Love is being sad they don't text you. Love is the whole circle. There's no up without down. Anything that has the ability to emotionally affect you positively has the ability to emotionally affect you negatively. There's nothing in the world that can only affect you in one direction. Even something as asinine and stupid as an object. We'll go back to cars because I used it earlier. If I buy a car for €6 million and it makes me very happy, if that car sets on fire at random, I'm going to be extremely angry. This is what happens. If it's a Nissan, it won't make me happy, but if it sets on fire, I won't be sad. They're directly correlated. Anything in the world that makes you happy that you currently have, whether it's a person, whether it's a job, whether it's a scenario, whatever it is, also has the exact inverse capability to make you extremely angry. So you have to accept. That's because I think I have confidence in myself to get it all back. And that's also because I have quite a lot of emotional control. And then perhaps, maybe I'm a little bit of a sadist, I don't know. But when bad things happen to me,
You love it.
I kind of enjoy it. And I think that maybe it's perhaps I just enjoy it for the story. Perhaps my whole life is not about trying to find comfort, it's trying to find challenges, and it's trying to find stories. I'll be very honest with you. Even in jail, my brother and I kept saying this is probably the best story, one of our best ever stories. That's what life is about to me. And if you were to say to me right now, Andrew, do you want to spend a year living in comfort and flying around the world and sleeping with girls and doing whatever, or do you want to spend a year in a jail in Mongolia? I'd probably choose the jail. Maybe I'm a sadist. Maybe I'm nuts. But for me, it's all about the challenges. It's not about the comforts. That's what I'm interested in, and I want to have stories to die with. So that's part of the story.
Yeah.
That's probably one of the best parts.
Right.
What's going to happen to them?
Yeah, dude.
Maybe will she stay loyal? Of course, I'm the top G, but come on. But what happens to her? What happens to my kid? How much did I miss my child when I couldn't see them? How did they get to Mongolia to even come visit me? Was I allowed visits? Did I get in a fight in there? Did I die in jail? Who knows? But this is the whole point. Maybe I'm just addicted to the idea of having stories worth telling, because I think if your life just goes well all the time, you know what's really interesting, because the world's so changed. Well, I think anyone who's with me understands that it's a possibility.
Yeah.
There's certainly a chance that something bad can happen at any time. They're very concerned. My woman says to me every single night, like, I hope you wake up tomorrow without a police raid. Like, it's just, who knows, right? It's unpredictable.
It's stressful, dude.
And it's stressful for the woman more than me, because I'm at peace with all of this. In fact, I truly enjoy it. And this ties into what I was about to say. I think that, like, I can tell you a story. 10 years ago, maybe, I bought my first Lamborghini. When I bought that Lamborghini, I was in England. I bought it in London. I was still in Luton a lot because my mother lived there. That was talk of the town. everyone talked about it. Everyone cared. Facebook was on fire. Tate has a Lambo. Yeah. It was a big deal. Every time I parked it anywhere, there was crowds around it. Every time I was driving, people took videos of it, etc. And that was in England, a wealthy country. Here we are 10 years later. We're in Bucharest, Romania, technically the poorest country in Europe. You'll see a Lambo every 5 minutes and nobody cares. Nobody cares. So I feel like all the light and all the positive, now that social media has shined so much light on people's lives, and what people do is they curate their lives to only show the positive, right? So you can have people with very normal jobs and basically no money, but if you look at their Instagram feed, they look rich because they've taken that one time they went to dinner and they got the 25 different angles, which is the exact point. So everyone's taken the highlight reels of their lives. So all the light has been displayed to the world, and hedonistic adaptation is real. So you need to always up the game. So a private jet, when I was flying on private jets 3 or 4 years ago, it was a big deal. Everyone copied. I mean, jets are jets. Everyone started jumping on jets. Look, I got a jet. I can get in. 20 other people get together and they chip in. They get a jet and they film it. And what I'm saying is, there's only so many levels you can raise the bar in the light. There's only so many levels you can raise the bar. I have the Bugatti, I have the Koenigsegg, I have a jet, I have a yacht. But you can raise the bar up there. That's done. But the dark is a cesspool. It's endless. It's a swamp.
Yep.
And I'm not going to pray anything terrible happens to me. I would never do that. In fact, I pray for the opposite. My point is, at least there are endless stories in the swamp.
You're an explorer. You're an explorer.
There's an explorer, yeah. And I feel like in the light, there's only so many stories. Okay, you get a fast car, you get a nice house, you get beautiful women. Okay, you have some children. Okay, you sit around with your boys, you laugh, you go for a nice drive, you go to nice places, blah, blah, blah. But I don't feel that maybe it's the pain I'm addicted to. I'm not sure. And that's what's so interesting about my current scenario, because you end up sitting here thinking maybe the dark is the most appealing side of it. Maybe that's what I want to happen. But we're going to see. But I think that it's also very interesting if we're going to analyze it from a metaphorical perspective, where if you're a man in the middle and you don't have the light yet, often you'll find the light by jumping into the dark.
Yep.
What does Newton say? They're equal and opposite force. The deeper you go, let's imagine the yin and the yang. Let's imagine there's a line in the middle and you have the light and you have the dark underneath it. If you're standing in the middle, the deeper you'll dive into the dark, it's like coiling a spring. The higher you'll bounce back into the light.
This is what's happening right now.
Exactly. And this is also why I became successful in the first place, because I've always been capable of fighting and going through pain and dedicating myself and doing difficult things and having hard things happen to me and being emotionally regulated. So perhaps what's so interesting about it is, even if I want the dark, no matter how deep I dive into it, no matter how much mess I try and get myself in, I'm just going to end up springing back and having more fans and more followers and more people talking about me and more social media. I'm looking for the journey. I don't want the comfort. I want the challenge. I'm looking for the journey. So no matter what bad is happening to me, part of me is always going to sit there and detach myself from myself and analyze it from the third person and say, wow, fantastic. This is going to be a great opportunity for you. It's a great opportunity for you to prove yourself to yourself and prove yourself to everybody else and prove yourself to God. And I think that that's what's truly appealing about life for me. And I don't think it's even that unusual. I mean, people look for adventure. Let's look at those poor billionaires who went on that submersible sub. They have all the money.
Yeah.
They've been everywhere. They've had every position you can have in. They've driven every car. They've done it all, right? So what's left? Well, they want to challenge themselves and take a risk. They knew it was risky. That's why they wanted to do it, because it was risky. I don't find things like that appealing. I don't find the idea of risking my personal safety as regards to going to space or going into the ocean appealing. I find it more appealing to allow God and allow life to put me in scenarios where I need to prove the mettle of my character by absorbing all of the negativity around me and converting it into light. I like the idea of jumping in the swamp and swimming down to the bottom and touching the floor and coming up without a drop of dirt on me and saying, look, that's how bad life can get. Here I am, Mr. Rich and Mr. Successful. So I have a different view of it, but I'm very, very fortunate that I'm sure God's going to give me the scenarios I'm looking for. He's going to give me the good and the bad, and they go together. And anybody at home who is in a negative scenario or in a negative situation who's complaining needs to understand that they need to embrace it and use it as a springboard, because there's no light without dark, and they're equal and opposite forces. I think it's Newton's third or second law. If you push against something, it's pushing back against you. This is how the universe works. I've analyzed this at length. Are some people born just to be certain ways, or are they trained to be certain ways? Is it nature or is it nurture? I guess you could argue a case for both. If you have a strength of will, then it's, I guess, an illogical obsession with X. And I think that you, as a man especially, should always have a degree of illogicality about you. If you're too logical, the thing is with rationalization and being logical is that you can talk your way out of something so easily. It's very easy to say, why be a professional fighter? I could get brain damage. Is it worth it? No. Why drive fast cars? I could crash. Is it worth it? No. Why? You can very easily rationalize inaction. You can always rationalize cowardice. We just saw this with, right? You had a whole bunch of people who took because they rationalized it. Where's the paperwork says I should, and the data from the scientists, and they rationalize it, right? So you can rationalize doing the cowardly choice. Being brave is nearly always illogical. So to have strength of will, you need to be an illogical person, and to be a good man, you need to be illogical, to wake up and say, this doesn't particularly make sense.
I think it's probably the least discussed superpower on earth is being able to speak well.
Yeah.
Nobody talks about it. People talk about being strong. Great. People talk about being rich. Okay, fantastic. But being able to speak correctly and properly and very well is a completely under-discussed superpower. It's the reason I refuse to learn another language. I've lived in Romania for 7 years. I know 3 words. And people say, why don't you learn Romanian? It's because I don't know English yet. When I know every single word in English, I'll learn Romanian because English makes me money. I don't need to learn Romanian. It doesn't make me any money. But it's not, in fact, correction, it's not practice, it's feedback. A lot of people practice things all the time and stay terrible. I had a guy say to me, in the war room, we actually do this training. I train the guys in the war room how to speak better. And that's one of the best things you can learn in life. And that's one of the reasons the war room is so valuable, because at the war room events, we do specific training for this particular task. And the guy was saying about how his business has improved, how much more money he makes, and how much better he is with girls, and et cetera, et cetera. And I was saying, yeah, okay, fine. But the reason I speak so well is not because I'm practiced, because this man was older than me. It's like, you've been speaking longer than I have.
Yeah.
It's not practice, it's feedback. If you don't analyze what you've done, then you're not going to identify your mistakes and where you can improve. I will watch this podcast back 10 times and I will realize all the times I stuttered, or all the times I had to repeat myself, or all the times I didn't use a word I was supposed to use. And that's why next time I do a podcast, I'll be better than even before. And that's also a lesson you can take and apply towards life. You can apply the feedback aspect towards life. Practice alone will not improve you. Practice is going to build habits. In fact, from fighting, I know this very well. If you allow a student to come and learn bad habits at the beginning, it's very hard to get out of them. I think also, I'm actually kind of curious, I've thought about this myself, how useful it will be into the future when the AI comes along and controls us all. You know what my biggest fear of the machine minds are?
Go on.
My biggest fear is that people will be as smart as me. That would piss me off. I like being smarter than everyone. I don't want a bunch of people to have Google brains that are smarter than mine. I'm supposed to be the smartest guy in the room. That's going to annoy me. I know, but what if they can get words from the dictionary as quick as I can? I had to work hard for that. Now they're just going to get a microchip. That's a cheat. It's going to piss me off. I don't want that to happen. Hopefully it happens when I'm already gone. But yeah, being able to speak is a massively misunderstood superpower that a lot of people need to understand, that can drastically change their life. But you're only going to be able to do it if you apply feedback to it. And the same is with absolutely everything in your life. Not enough people look back on what they did and identify where they made a mistake. And some people will do it when they lose, but the true professionals do it when they win. When my dad was playing a chess game, if he won the game, he would still analyze the game and see if he could have lost, where it could have gone wrong, how he could have won faster, what mistakes he did make, what he did well, what he did wrong, win or lose. So many people will sit in a scenario where everything went wrong and go, in fact, correction, not so many people. I would say 75% of people will not ever self-analyze the situation they're in. They'll blame everyone else. If they went to jail like I did, they'd say, they put me in jail because they're liars and the Matrix did it. Fine, true. But when I was in jail, I was like, how did I get here? What did I do? What did I say? Who did I piss off? What institutions want me in jail? What did I do that angered them? Me. I'm taking absolute self-accountability for everything. I'm not blaming anything else, because if I blame everything else, I have no control. If I blame myself, that I can influence it, I have control over it. So 75% of people blame other people, or they blame other things. I lost my business because of COVID. No, you lost your business because of you. I lost my girl because her friends were hoes. No, you lost your girl because of you, and you lost your car because of you, and it's all your fault, because that's the only thing that gives you control and power. The other 10%, we said 75, that's 85, now it has to be much higher. Let's say the other 20%, which brings up to 95% of the total of the populace, will look at a situation in which they lose, and they might self-analyze, and they might try and learn from the loss, and they'll try and find the feedback involved in the loss to make sure they don't lose again, which is obviously better than not analyzing at all.
At all, yeah.
And the top 5%, the absolute highest echelon, are people who are going to analyze every decision they've ever made, win or lose. I analyze my wins as well. See where I went right, see where I went wrong, see where it worked. You need to analyze your whole life. Your life needs to be feedback. You need to sit and it's over 10% into the year now. I wonder if anyone who made a New Year's resolution sits and says, it's over 10% into the year. Am I at 10% of my goal? Because your stupid ass said you were going to be a millionaire when you were drunk on New Year's Eve. Well, you need to have 100 grand saved. Do you have 100,000? Have you even done the feedback on your own goal you made 30 short days ago to realize that you're nowhere near it and you're not going to make it and you're a loser? No. Oh, I got the rest of the year, and then wonder why they fail. You should have a daily target.
Yeah.
So you need to constantly feedback and analyze your life and take time out of scenarios. I do this all the time. There's been times I've got up out of bed and I've got ready and I've got my keys and I've got my phone and I've stroked my dog and I've had my coffee. I downed it quickly and it was just the right temperature, so it wasn't too hot and it wasn't too cold. And I got in my car, which had already been started by my security team, and it was already warm. And I got in and I goes out the door. I was like, I'll go out the door in 6 minutes. That's like 2 minutes faster than normal. Yeah, that was good. What did I do good? Well, the coffee. The coffee wasn't too hot, wasn't too cold. Usually it's too hot and I have to wait. Or it's too cold and I want another one. The coffee was just the right temperature. When was it made? And I'll check the message where I sent them to make me a coffee. And it sounds crazy, but I'll analyze how I left the fucking house while I'm driving. I'll be like, that was fast. That was good.
How can we do that again?
Well done. I want to do that next time. People don't feedback ever. And they don't analyze the way they speak. If you're the kind of person who can't speak properly, you're the kind of person who doesn't analyze their own behaviors in life. That's what I would say. If I see somebody who can't make me understand why they think what they think, I'm going to sit and say, okay, well, you're not the kind of person who analyzes their own life. Now, do I trust you? Because let's say we start a business together and it all goes wrong. Are you going to come to me and say, I made a mistake. I can do better. This is the mistake I made. Or you're going to sit and say, well, the environment was hard. It was a hard business environment.
Wasn't in my control.
Yeah, some garbage and just cope. You know who the worst for this? Oh, I'm going to jail. Here we go. Going to jail. Women. Women take no self-accountability for anything. I'm a misogynist. It's true. No, they don't take self-accountability for anything. And they don't because they don't have to. Because they are blessed with beauty from God. So they have a superpower, which is their beauty. And their beauty allows them to get away with being completely lacking self-accountability, because as a man you have to be competitive, and the only way you can truly be competitive in war, which life is to be self-accountable, to blame yourself for everything, because that puts you in the highest possible mind state to compete against everyone else who wants the things you want.
For sure.
So you have to, as a man, self-analyze and be self-critical.
Your every move.
Every move. But as a woman you don't, because you're hot, right? So they're not good at it. And I'm not insulting them, they're just not used to it, because they get to blame other people and blame everything else because their beauty allows them to get away with it. And that's the reason I said, my girlfriend said, would you ever let me drive your cars? I was like, never. Never, ever. She goes, why? I am a good driver for a girl. And I said, yeah, and my 4-year-old's a good speaker for a 4-year-old, but I wouldn't put him in front of a stadium to talk. So it doesn't matter how well you could drive for a girl, you're a girl. But that's not even the reason. The reason I wouldn't let you drive my cars, it's not because I think you're going to crash. I do. But that's not even what it's about. If I lent my boy a car, if I lent a man a car and he crashed it,
he would take accountability for it.
He'd take accountability for it. He would come to me and say, there was a crash, this happened, I'll fix it, I'm sorry. Even if he believes it wasn't his fault, he would still, if he's the kind of guy I know, have enough self-accountability to go, this idiot pulled out of nowhere, but I was speeding. I was going fast. It's a fast car. I'm going to fix the car. I'm going to get it sorted. I'm going to pay for it. If a woman crashes the car, that's not what you're going to hear. It wasn't my fault. You don't understand. It wasn't me. He pulled out, and I didn't do anything wrong, and he pulled out. And I'll be like, well, how are you going to fix it? I'm not going to fix it because he pulled out and I didn't know. Why are you yelling at me? This isn't my fault. And I'm left with the mess. So why am I letting her a car in the first place? I'm left with the mess, and she's going to say it's not her fault. She'll crash into a tree by herself, and it wasn't her fault. The tree
did something.
Bro, it's clown world. So anyone who's not self-accountable, I don't trust. So back to, let's avoid the women's subject, 'cause it always gets me in trouble. Back to men. If you're a man who's not self-accountable, I don't trust you. So if you're a man who's making a mistake as permanent as not being able to speak and convey your ideas correctly, well, then I don't trust you as a person. And that's probably the best thing about money. People often ask me what the best thing about being rich is. And there's not much that's good. Private jets are good because it's convenient. It's like getting an Uber. There's no airport garbage. Supercars are fun. I love supercars. But most other rich stuff is garbage. Like caviar's crap, champagne's crap. What do rich people do? Golf,
tried caviar one time. I thought it was disgusting.
It's all shit.
Yeah.
I don't like, one of the best things about being rich is I don't have to talk to anyone I don't want to talk to. If someone comes to me and goes, Andrew, we can make a lot of money together, but I think they're a nerd, that's what I talk to them. It's great. I don't want your money. I would rather not have money than sit and talk to a nerd. You're a dork. Oh, you're a vegan. Get fucked. Oh, but we'll make money. Don't care. I don't want the money. I am principled now, which goes back into my earlier point about why I want my fans to have money, because if you have money, you're principled. If you're a brokey, you'll sell your soul, which is why I don't want my fans to be broke. That's why I have the real world so they can join to make money, because if you are broke, you will say, I'm not a fan of Andrew if it benefits you financially, which means you're no good to me in a war because now you're a traitor. I don't want that. So one of the best things about being rich is I get to be exceptionally principled, and I get to also not talk to anyone I don't want to talk to all of the time, which I do truly enjoy. It's one of the best things about it.
So I'm sitting in the garden of my house. Directly in front of me is a tree. In fact, there's 5 trees. 4 of them have leaves and 1 of them doesn't. Is this tree a loser? Well, can trees be losers? I guess not having leaves as a tree is like not having a Bugatti as a man. Somewhere along the line, you just fucked up. It wasn't really that hard to get. All I had to do was be smarter than everybody else and do the work they were too lazy to do. It wasn't that difficult, but on a side note, talking about my monumental successes, coming from a single-parent household in Luton, England, the lowest income town in the entire country, before that living in Gary, Indiana, the murder capital of America at the time, then becoming the most famous man on the planet, worth hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars, some would estimate over $1 billion. I've pulled all of this off with maybe 60% effort. I could have tried harder. I mean, I tried. I'm not lazy. But I could have tried harder. I can't sit here and say I gave it all I had. That's a lie. Because I took time out of my day to fuck your bitch. You know? Perhaps I was just the first one to do it. The first one to have enough balls to say what everybody else was thinking, instead of sitting there going, well, if I say what everyone else is thinking, they're going to cancel me and delete my channels. So instead, I put together the ultimate Aikido plan to force them to delete me and make such a big spectacle of it that they have to drive me towards another platform, e.g. Rumble, which is publicly traded. There are people who can buy stocks in Rumble, you know. Maybe it was all just a plan to make millions of dollars. But the fact I came first certainly had something to do with it. My coach used to say, if you land first, you land twice. It's true, especially on the street. If the fight is certain, Putin said this. Growing up in the streets of Leningrad, I learned that if a fight is certain, you must at least strike first. Don't lose your element of surprise. Being first, there's a lot to say about it. And even you brokies at home know this. Even you broke, insignificant, stupid, lazy, ugly losers at home, you, right now, you watching this with that average ass bitch, no, I'm telling the truth. If you get into Bitcoin first, you make money. If you get into AI first, you're going to make some money. You need to try and be first. And I've talked about it at length, about how you're never going to be first, because you get your information from Twitter. By the time it's on Twitter, everyone knows you're last. The news, last. You need to have a network. You got to have guys who know guys. You got to know people. You need the war room. I've talked about all this. I don't want to repeat myself. You're out here by yourself,
without the perspicacity bestowed upon a network. Opposingly, you're trying to use your own personal perspicacity, which is lacking at best, to outcompete groups of men who know things you do not know and will always be in before you will. And I'm reminded by all of this by this fuck up tree, because this tree isn't actually any less of a tree than the other trees. It's just as tall and it's the same species. It should have leaves. The problem is it got planted a couple months later. And by the time it got planted, the other trees had already established their root systems. And now this tree can't get its roots deep enough to get enough water to grow leaves. It can stay alive. It's not dead. But it's just kind of there. And it can't get ahead. A lot like you and your pathetic life. You have an apartment. You have a car. You have sex with any girl who's stupid enough to want to have sex with you. And we all know she's not top tier. But you don't have leaves. You don't have Bugattis and Paganis and Kernan's eggs and mansions and jets and yachts. And you're not famous. You don't have any of this cool stuff. Because you were just a little bit too late. Now you're going through life saying things like I say. Because you're a fan of me. Hey man, top G, but why didn't you say it back then? Because you were a coward. You were fearful. Now the world is mine. All of it. When you're last, it's extremely difficult. Now, if this tree was a top tree, like top G, I'm built different. So I could have come last and just destroyed the roots of all of my competitors. But the average person like you need to get in first. Let me give you a very quick example. Your bitch. Sorry, don't be misogynist. Anyway, the female who's stupid enough to have sex with you, and I know she's stupid, she must be, because having sex with you means she has to, like, have a job or something. It's great, you know? I meet these beautiful women, and sometimes they sit there. They're on a date with me, and I'm not even talking to them. My version of a date is me and Tristan go somewhere, or me and the guys go somewhere. I let them come along, and they sit in the corner. I don't talk to them at all. I don't want to talk to you. It's boring. I don't care. And they're probably sitting there, to be honest, they're probably sitting there going, this guy hasn't even said a single word to me. But if I'm with him, I get to fly in private jets, and I don't have to work, and I don't have to pay my own bills, and all my problems go away. And then she goes back out into the world, and she goes, no, but he doesn't care about my opinions, because my favorite movie is Matilda, and he didn't care, and I deserve that. So she goes back into the world, starts walking around, and then she realizes that chaos is coming. War is coming. Money's becoming harder and harder to make. Inflation is rampant. She never stands a chance. She needs a warlord. And she lays there at night and thinks of me. She goes, but no, he didn't care about my favorite lip gloss, and he didn't ask me about Kardashians, and I deserve that. So then what she does, she goes on a date with one of you. And you sit there and you're like, what's your favorite lip gloss, baby? And she tells you, and you ask about Kardashians, you have this great chat. And she's like, he cares about my personality. And then she comes to the sober realization that your jokes and your connection and your personality means she has to work a 9 to 5 for the rest of her life. You're not that funny. Your personality's not that great. Then she leaves you. Then she texts me. I accept. I know you'll never talk to me. I'll sit around your house. I've had girlfriends for 5 years. I don't think I've ever had a conversation with any of them. I don't talk to them. Hi, baby. Hi. Love you. Love you. What the fuck else is there to talk about? You dudes are at home with your girl. Hey, guess what happened today during my day? Chick wouldn't even understand my fucking day. I'm fighting the Matrix. She doesn't even know how anything works, bro. You're sitting there talking to some chick.